minus 1 minute. T minus 50 seconds. T minus 40 seconds. T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
There we go.
Like a roller coaster, right? You never know what's going to happen.
That's what life's all about.
It is. That's the fun part. So, I do a segment on my channel called Just One Thing, and that's where I talk with experienced growers about just one topic they think all new growers should know about. But today I kind of wanted to flip the script a little bit, and I wanted to try and talk about just one thing with you, and that one thing is love.
Love.
Love. It's a big topic. There's many of things in life that we can love, but one of the things that I wanted to ask about was just your love of the cannabis plant, and maybe how it has opened your eyes or maybe helped you in life or appreciate some things, if that applies.
Oh, well, totally. My whole life has been very serendipity. Things have happened to me that were sort of so ordained, meant to happen. And it's just not too long ago, recently, especially I got older, then I started looking back and say, why me? Chris Christopherson wrote a song one time, why me, Lord? What have I ever done to deserve even one of the pleasures I've known? And that's exactly the way I was feeling, and then messages. I've been getting messages from the spirit world all my life, comforting sometimes, humorous a lot of times, just show me the funny side of it, and all my life, and I've been had the pleasure of meeting people, very, very influential, famous people again, just not by design, just by accident, just by things meant to be, and so I've been. Then I went to Bible camp. That's I tell people I'm funny because I'm known as my for my comedy, and so and when you get around rich people, people always feel, oh, he's so generous, but rich people, man, no matter who you are, they want something from you. They'll give up money, but they want something from you. So if you're a comedian, there's somewhere in the line, down the line, you're going to be performing for them. You see, well, I got a different outlook on performance. I'm like a plumber. If you want the toilet's plugged, I'll unplug it. But if you want to throw in some extra stuff in there, well, that's going to cost you because that's extra. And so when these rich folks, get me, and then they sort of like get me to, oh, let's get them on stage, and they want to have the Cheech and Chong comedy hour, Well, I kind of disappoint them in some ways, and then in other ways, I enlighten them. And so what I've been doing is that every time I get called on stage, just to hear what I have to say, then they get a dose of what I have to say. and and it makes everybody nervous. My wife she gets so nervous because I'll be up there and then she'll heckle me from the audience.
That's love right there. That's love.
Oh, it's total love. But again, you see, we're on this journey of life alone. You see, no matter how tight you are with anybody, parent, your wife, your husband, whatever it is, you're alone. You're by yourself. And the sooner you find out that you're not really alone, that, yeah, you're here in human form, because the God can't be in human form. He's too pure. But he'll live vicariously on your, personal journey. So you're not alone. But for all intents and purposes, you are alone, because that's the only way that you evolve and grow. Just like a plant in the forest, surrounded by trees, but that little plant is all by itself. It's alone. It's got one little seed and it's got the roots going out, and it's all by itself. And there's so many dangers that could come along and take that little plant out, but it doesn't. It for some reason it grows to be a sequoia, some huge, beautiful tree. Why? Because it was destined to be what it is. You see, and what I found out, as I got older, that we are all here for a reason. And basically the reason is to help evolve, help everybody evolve, including the planet itself. You see, this planet that we're on, I used to have little arguments with Timothy Leary, because Timothy Leary's whole solution to everything is, let's get on let's get on a spaceship and find another Earth, start all over again, Well, it's impossible, because there is no other Earth. Just like we are one of a kind, the Earth is one of a kind. There's no duplicate anywhere. No reason to be. Why do you need a duplicate, in anything, so you could have one in reserve in case you need it? Yeah, that's possible. But if you are eternal beings like we are, the only reason we're here is to learn. And the only way we learn is through our mistakes. You see, you don't learn through perfection. Absolutely nothing. Just like Superman climbing a mountain, Superman says, "Hey, I did it." Well, you fly up. You're not climbing. You're just appearing on the mountain, you see? But the real physical work that's needed on Earth is designed for us to evolve. This is how we get big. Like going to a gym. When I discovered bodybuilding, oh man, I found my calling, because first of all, I was so skinny that I needed something, but I had the heart and soul of an athlete,
Right.
So even though I wasn't big or strong, dude, I had the inside me thought I was, you see. And so sports, I was good in a lot of sports because of the drive, not about my physical being, but because I was in the hospital when I was a baby. And so my legs never developed properly, And so I thank God, because I would have been uh, dead by now, because their longevity and athletics don't go hand in hand. So
No.
anyway, what I found, the the connection between the spirit world and the physical world, and one can't live without the other. Isn't that crazy? I boiled everything down to electricity. Now, to create electricity, you need positive and negative. And they're not getting along. The positive and negative, they're so opposites that they create energy. And that energy we use. We use in our, I'm using it right now on our phone, our TVs, our heating system, everything, our car system now. So, so when civilization realizes where the power lies, you see, I've had some great epiphanies about the past. I love going to Greece. I love going to Rome, Italy. And seeing the ruins and that. And another epiphany I had that it kills me. The pyramids. You know what the pyramids? The reason the pyramids were there. And by the way, they weren't built by aliens. No,
But
no,
TV
no.
told me it was.
No, 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 no. Those pyramids were built by humans. And check this out. The reason, no, it was an excuse, really, for the pharaohs to find a place to hide their wealth. Because back in the days, they always felt that they could take their wealth with them into the other life. And so that's why they wanted to make sure that no one stole their gold or whatever they had, their jewels and everything else. So they put them in a pyramid. Now, the pyramid itself is impenetrable. You can't get into it, unless you know the plans. And so all the workers in the pyramids, they knew how to get into the secret thing and blah, 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 and all the bullshit, And so the guy was no longer, he was buried, but within a few years, they're tunneling, they got that certain place and they go in there and they take all the gold shit because the truth is, it's just going to rot. There's no afterlife to take the riches to, so it's only, those riches only work in this life. And but what I realized about the pyramids, oh, big heavy stone bricks, blocks, what, pushing big stone. And by the way, you know how they moved the rocks around? They used olive oil, gallons of olive oil.
That's available. Yeah.
On packed mud. So it was slippery and they could slide, and it would take, they put ropes around the big rocks and that, and they had areas where you could put the ropes through, and then on the other end, when they got a certain height, they used a counterweight, you see. And so the counterweight would pull up help the slaves or the workers push that rock into place. But think about this. Every rock they moved was building muscle for the warriors. So those warriors or workers are warriors. Because back in the day, farmers were the ones that went to war. Because once the crops are in the field, well, man, they got a few months that they can go kill each other for a while, fight and so on and on, and then come home and harvest the crops, and a lot of the women were going to do the harvesting anyway, so the men, were free to rob, kill, and pillage, and And so the Egyptians, like a lot of those early civilizations, because they had the money, they had the wealth, they can afford to carry armies and build monuments. But thinking about it, just blew my mind because they never used any mechanical, other than maybe the counterweight or the wheel, the pulleys or something like that there. But that all requires muscle. That all requires human muscle. And if you do something enough times, you're going to build. That's what Goliath was all about, the giant. You know, Back in the day, they had 8-foot people. It was common, just like they had 10-foot gorillas. They had dinosaurs. It was a whole different way of living back then. So what I realized is how aware of the physical being the Greeks and the Romans and the early, the early people were, because the desert, there's not a whole lot to do in the desert except fight.
That's true, right?
Yeah,
Not a
yeah,
lot to do.
yeah.
It's amazing you brought that up. That's, visiting the pyramids in Egypt is number one on my bucket list because, again, it's something that we don't conclusively know how they did it. And at a day and age where we're supposedly, the smartest we've ever been and the most technically and mechanically inclined that we've ever been, we still can't figure out how to duplicate it. So that has always been
Well,
a point of interest.
the architect showed it. They showed how they did it. They could do it physically. You know, but don't forget they had beasts of burden too. They had oxen.
Yes. Yeah.
And they use the oxen to pull weights, thing. And then they have all the workers, all the warriors, on the end of hemp rope, hemp
Hemp.
hemp rope. That's what they used to build the pyramids. See. So there's the ancients can show us a lot, but we intellectually we're sort of lazy. They had computers, they had this, they had that. No, the most of the population couldn't read or write. It was only the priest and the hierarchy that had that ability. That's why they drew shit, because there was no thing. And on a side note, there's like Cheech and I we got a documentary in the can waiting to be shown, waiting for the strike to be over. And
Right.
When we release that, we're going to start doing biopics, going back in our life. And I my life has been so amazing. I got such a mixture of relatives, ancestors that are so interesting, and I'm going to pursue that more. But I've got a plan. I got a plan how we can further civilization without war, and because the war eventually will be fought with drones, like they're being now. It's going to be drones, and there's going to be drone tanks eventually. There's going to be drone everything, and then there will be agreements to not to do this, not to do that, like they tried to do with World War II. But more than anything, living in peace. It's been done. It's been done, but it's not the usual way of Earth. It's funny how the ancients had Mars, the planet of war, but it's really Earth.
Right. Well, who knows if we really came from Mars and we came to Earth. No, I'm just joking. It is there's a collective sense of community that brings this sort of harmony. And one thing that I miss today, that I see a lot when I travel to different countries, is sometimes the craftsmanship, the artisan, the person who has all day to think of how to make a better mousetrap. and then designs it in a new and eloquent way. I think that's something, you know, again, that is kind of a love of things. That is a passion for what you do. And it would be great if more people had time to focus on that sort of thing, because I think that would create a healthier society in the end.
Yeah, well, your theory is flawed in one way, and that is assuming that
Yes.
people would lives would be better, and that's the flaw that I had for many years until recently, and now I realize that learning from your mistakes is a very honorable way to do it. Very ugly and sloppy, especially when you get like into the Holocaust and places like that. You see,
Yeah. Yeah.
but by the way, that's the chaos and violence that is produced by using positive and negative energy uh, against each other. That really was what was happening. You see, what caused World War II with Hitler was what Trump is doing, lying. And what Hitler did, he picked a common enemy that everybody were shitting on anyway. You know, it was the Jews, and the reason they picked the Jews is because the Jews were the most intelligent creatures on the planet, because they were the ones that really discovered the spiritual God. You see, up until the Jews, they were worshiping idols, you know, Baal and all these idols, and they were saying that's God, that's God. The Japanese were worshiping their emperor. You know, they made him a god, and all these places around the planet, they made different gods, human gods. But it was the Jews that realized, no, God is spirit. He's too pure to behold iniquity. And so if you're on earth, you're here to learn. You know.
Well, you know, I mean, one thing to that point that really struck me, because again, I was not alive during World War II. I definitely have a relative who is a four-time Purple Heart because of World War II.
Sure.
But when I traveled over to the Netherlands and specifically Amsterdam, I made the, you know, decision to go to the Anne Frank house. Now, Anne Frank is a very
Yeah.
well-known story related to the Holocaust. And we were able to, you know, walk into the house, be in the area where her and her family were hiding, see some of the artifacts, some of the stories, seeing pictures
Yeah.
of those troops on those streets that I walked to get there. That's not something
Yeah.
we ever have in America. We don't have pictures of occupying forces. But the thing that struck me the most at the end of it was they had the register of people who were killed.
Yeah.
And the point that they make is look at that name, Anne Frank. There's five more named Anne Frank below her.
Yeah.
So to kind of give a totality of
Yeah.
what happened, but also the perspective for me to learn from history and, you know, to make that conscious decision that, you know, love needs to win. Um,
Well, again, you can't have one without the other.
yeah.
Yes. And so, as much love as there are on the planet, there's that much hate. And if you look at the Trump situation, it kills me. It's funny to me, you know, that when they do the polls, they find out that he's almost 50-50, almost. But his numbers are usually around the 20s or the 30s% of the people that really believe in his lies. It was like Hitler. When Hitler died, there were people crying on the street, mourning because the Fuhrer was dead. And it
Yeah.
wasn't, even to this day, there are people that lie about the Holocaust and say Hitler, you know, had the right idea, you know, that kind of shit, that kind of talk. And
Yikes.
and what we're going through now is basically the same thing, except that we have like our artificial intelligence, AI. AI created this telephone that we're talking to now. You know, I got a watch on that I answer my phone. I'm like Dick Tracy. Hey, what's going on?
Right. Pull
Yeah,
off your shoe next time, right?
yeah. And being on the planet as long as I have, I've seen everything change except me. I grew up, I changed, I grew up, but I'm always me. You know, there's never a time when I'm not myself, I'm not me, even
But you're
when I'm
different forms of yourself, though,
yeah.
over the span of a
No, but
lifetime.
there's only one spirit. There's only one Tommy Chong, you see, and there's no duplicate. Nowhere on the planet, nowhere in the universe. Now think about how special that is. That's why when they're talking about sands, there's more sands on Earth. No, there's more stars in the skies than there are sands on
Wow.
Earth. Now
Wow.
that's mind blowing, but it
Yeah.
shows you the power of the individual. The individual. That's why when they say God is one, God, there's only God. Well, there's only you. There's only me. There's only one. The blade of you see it go in the lawn. There's a trillion blades of grass, but you can go pick one. You can just pick one blade of grass and study it, and look at it, and admire it, and think about it. You know, and think about this: that blade of grass is food for tons of creatures on the planet. That grass gets transferred into a cow or into a horse. You know, that's her energy. That gives all the power that these creatures have. You see, and so when you realize how powerful this physical world of ours is, and then the opposite of the physical world is the spiritual world. And so we're in between those worlds all the time,
Mhm.
all the time. Now, I've evolved somewhat to the point where I am who I am. I can do podcasts and I can talk and talk about and I know that I'm being used. I'm being used by and you talk about love. I'm being used by the spiritual world, which consists entirely and only of love. There's nothing else in that spiritual world except love and us. And we're so tiny. We're so tiny. We're smaller than a thought. Think about that. Think about what do they call on the
Yeah.
computer? A little micro, whatever it is.
The
A
little
little,
ones and zeros bytes and yeah.
yeah. That one little bit that can show the map of Italy. You know that one little speck. So we are, and because we are evolved to the point that we have consciousness and we have language and we can communicate and we can communicate even without being next to each other, you know, like we're doing now, and we can even, you know, like my wife and I, uh, we there's a lot of times we don't talk. I just know what she wants and she will give me the message like I'll be at the store and I'll for some reason I'll pick up something and then get home and she'll say, oh, did you get the so and so? And I said, yeah. Oh yeah, I did. There was no call, there was no nothing, just mental, you know, connection. And uh that's the way we've been this way since the beginning. And there's never been a beginning.
Right. And energy too. You spoke of energy earlier, and I firmly believe in that as well. I'm an audio engineer by trade, so I love sound
Yeah.
and that sort of energy. But another thing that ties into that is this theory of quantum entanglement, where basically two things can be entangled over a long distance that will affect each other. And in certain relationships, particularly with my wife as well, I feel we have a little bit of that because we will get those subtle clues that for no reason, why did I pick up a box of, rye crackers?
Yeah.
Because she wants them.
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly it. That's why, buying your wife a present. A lot of men go, "Oh, I don't know what to get her." And I'm one of them. I'm one of those men. But on the other hand, what I've found is that because she's such an artist, my wife's such an artist, that I say, listen, go buy whatever you want to buy. It's all on you. You get whatever you want. Don't worry about price. Don't worry about anything. Whatever you feel, whatever you want to get, or if you want me to pick it up or get it, but you got to let me know what it is because I have no fucking clue.
Yeah, right. Sometimes we got to read between the lines as well. It's not all decoded for us, but
Yeah, yeah,
that's
exactly.
paying
I'll
attention.
tell you. I'll
That's
tell
the
you.
desire.
I'll tell you a time. This has happened over my lifetime. One time Cheech and I and we had our wives Shelby and Ricky were in Australia, and the girls they're not too thrilled with Australia. So Shelby says, "Okay, we're bored. We're going to go to Hawaii a couple of days early, because and I'll stop off on the way home. And then we'll stay a couple of days in Hawaii and go home." And I said, okay. So, Cheech and I, they leave. Cheech and I do the gig. And then the next day, I'm on the plane. And as we're landing, I realize I don't know where my wife is. I don't know what hotel she's in. I don't know where she's at. All I know is that it's a nice day. She'll probably be at the beach. And so when I got off the plane, I had the cab driver take me to the nearest beach, Waikiki. Okay. I get out of the cab, pay the guy, and I go start looking. And first person I see is my son.
Wow.
The little tyke, he's running. And then I look, and there she is on a blanket. For some reason, the cab driver, he didn't know what it was, or didn't know what was going on. We were meant. That's the way it was. That's the serendipity that I'm talking about. And she looked up at me. She's laying on the blanket. She looked at me. Oh, hi, hon. As if
Right?
I went for coffee. I
Expecting
flew
you to
all the
be
way.
there.
I flew all the way from Australia to Hawaii, and she looks up. Oh, hi, hon. And, and it was, but that's the way my life has been, and that's why I've been really going over. We've been taught since the beginning of time. That's what the Bible is all about. All the spiritual books. Confucius, all the Muslims. Everybody's been hit with spiritual knowledge. We've been taught, and there's been sects of people, and of course, there's always violence. When you got people that disagree or just evolving. They're bullies and they're evolving out of that thing.
Hour phase.
Yeah. So what when you find out, like I found out, special. I even got my iPad talking to me. It's weird. I'll go to type something in the iPad. Just tell me what you want to. Tell me what you're thinking. I'll type it for you.
Oh wow. Gosh, that
But
would
the
make my
trouble,
writing job easier. I should try that.
no, but the trouble is, I can't think unless I see it written down.
Yeah.
Because I've been doing a lot of experimenting, especially with smoking, getting high, different strains and everything else. And whenever I'm acting goofy, I have to stop and go, okay, did you smoke up? You did. Okay, that explains it.
Do you keep track to the extent of one particular strain does something great for you and one you're like,
I would,
that's not my cup of tea.
I would like to think I do, but common sense tells you that. there could be some, taste different or whatever. Yeah, different amount of THC in some plants, not enough in the other, or less in others. But what we found out with our studies is that it's the CBD that does the healing, and it doesn't get you high. And yet you can't do a hemp plant without having 3.5 THC in every dose, and they're all bound together, And what I've done, what I'm doing now is I'm creating these little joint holders. I don't have one handy, but I create these little joint holders, and I've been thinking because I want to become the richest man on earth. And the way I'm going to do that is through my art. Okay.
Awesome.
I'm going to have art that only the wealthiest of the wealthy can afford. Okay. Because the reason my art is because it will not lose its value. It will only increase, like art, like Picasso's or like any of the name artists. Banksy, the late
love Banksy.
Yeah, Banksy is one of them. Now, what I want to do now, I've been making these necklaces. They're all small. They're all called nada pipes. When I went to jail, I went to jail for pipes, and so these, although they're pipes, are nada pipes. Just as a play on word. What I'm doing with these nada pipes, because I make quite a few of them, and I've been making them over the years. I'm going to cast some of my favorite ones in gold and make them solid gold nada pipes. And so it's not a piece of wood. This is solid fucking gold. And so when I'm asking, and it's one of a kind. And so it's not only, it's a one of a kind gold piece. And it's not, you can wear it, but it's so valuable. It's meant to be kept in a safe, protecting the wealth of that piece, you see. And by doing so, I think in fact, I know I can become the richest man on the planet. Now, it's not about me personally being rich, because no man has it all.
Money doesn't get you everything.
Elon Musk has a crew of people that handle his money. I will have a crew of people handling my money. But what I want to do with my money, Samuel L. Jackson, the black actor?
Yeah, wonderful actor.
He's my influence. Denzel Washington does a YouTube bit on Samuel L. Jackson. What he does, he lists all the black charities that Samuel L. Jackson either started or promotes with huge almost $1 billion worth of charity work that Samuel L. Jackson, the black colleges, the black everything, George Floyd, all that. Samuel L. Jackson puts his money. So his personal wealth, it's modest compared to what he gives away. And so that, to me, is a clue, because we are immortal people, not immortal people, eternal. We are eternal beings. We have always been here in one form or another, just like everything. Like the scientists will tell you that every drop of water that was here in the beginning of Earth is still here in one form or another. And so we're 90% water. So our bodies are eternal beings as well, even though they do decay and and they fall apart, they turn to dust or whatever they do.
Physical
But
self.
yeah, but our spiritual self is eternal. Therefore, if my stay here is long enough to get this. Now, the reason I want to become the richest man in the world is because I want to be able to start a movie company where everybody on the planet is a potential movie employee. In other words, when you're born, you can join our Peace Plate Pictures is what it's called, and so every movie company from its inception, especially when they started using young kids, they had to get this law of conduct,
Yep.
and a decency law,
and all that stuff.
And the kids had to go to school and all that, and you got to have health care and all that good stuff. If you got something wrong with you, then that has to be fixed. It's much like the penitentiaries, like when you go to a federal penitentiary, they have to provide all the medical help you need, all the operations. If it's open heart surgery, they have to provide it, all that good stuff. Unless you're sentenced to death, and even then, I think they still, know the bureaucrat.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But see, the movie company, they're a perfect entity because what they do, they're looking for what use you are to a movie. Okay. Now, if you don't speak English, you can be an extra. Just stand over there, wear this, stand over there, look over this way. That's all you have to do. So you can get paid a base pay as an extra. And so now you've got income coming in. Okay. Now you want to become an actor, you want to work in the crew, whatever your heart desires, your art crew, whatever it is. There's schools where we send you to learn the craft. And if you want to change your course in the middle, okay. But then you have to do it. What I'm getting at is a system where we keep track of everybody, make sure everybody has a decent income. See, when you look at the homeless in LA or anywhere, it's really, there's a lot of people like to put it off on drugs, but it's not just drugs.
Not entirely. No, you can't.
No. What it is people that can't afford to pay rent. That's all it is.
I lived in my van for 4 months while I put myself through audio engineering school, and I had $2 a day to eat.
That's what I'm saying.
Paid off.
That's what I'm saying, because you couldn't afford a college and paying some ridiculous rent for a place to sleep where you sleep in your van. Yeah. See, that's what I'm saying. And so, with the movie company approach, is that you have you've listed everybody, you cataloged everybody on the street. You know where they are, what they're doing. And something happens, God forbid, one of them freaks out or that. You look at the file and you go, oh, okay, he's got this problem or he's got that problem. You see, and I also got with the movie company a gun legislation. You know what the secret to gun legislation is?
What? We haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah, I figured it out. You know what it is? Insurance. If you're to own a gun, you have to have that weapon insured.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have any insurance, you don't have the right to own that weapon or to use the weapon.
I don't have the right to drive my car if I don't have insurance, whether I want it or not.
That's what I'm saying. Now you can have your car parked in your lot, but if you want to drive that car, make it a danger to society, you have to have a license and insurance. See, they never had insurance before, and that was fucking everybody up because people would run from accidents or whatever, you know. And now that you have to have insurance, that makes you a more of a responsible person, you know. And so that's and what I'm talking about insurance is that, like Alex Baldwin, for instance, you know, he shot the girl. That was a stupid accident, but I have to blame Baldwin, and the reason I blame Baldwin is that if you know firearms, and he obviously does, you do not, no matter what anybody tells you, take him for granted. If he says it's not loaded, you don't trust him. You break that thing, you look in there and you go, well, just a minute. What's this? You know, you don't point a weapon at anybody. And if you do, you make sure that there's safety things in front, like bulletproof glass or something. You do not ever point anything at anybody that conceivably could go off. Ever. And that's again in the insurance that it's bailing what's the name Baldwin out, you know, for the cost and everything else. But when it comes to like AKA rifles and that, you know, a lot of the problems is racially inspired, you know, because they don't consider people human, you know, and you know, they don't consider black people human, and therefore they shouldn't have any rights. You know, that's the DeSantis. But I got to back up. I got to back up a little bit. There's another thing that I got to keep myself from slipping into. It's a biblical judge not. Judge not is so important for evolution to evolve. And the reason I say that is that the Trumpies that hate black people, they're going on bad information.
Yeah.
No, it might be
misguided, from ignorance,
misguided,
all of the above,
lies.
Yeah.
And it might have been you know, they might have been born into it. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? But that is their problem. Therefore, you should not judge them, but yet judge righteous judgment. Okay, that's the problem. What's the solution? What are you doing to make them better? Anything? Nothing? You know? That's what I found out about prison. When I went to jail, the I Ching, this book of changes, followed me. And my brother-in-law sent it to me. And so I used it right away. And what the I Ching is, you throw coins, and then you get a fortune, you know, with the different things. And so my fortune, guess what my fortune said?
What did it say?
You are in jail for a reason.
Yeah.
And
it's not the reason that they sent you there for. You found a different reason.
No. Well, the reason is that prisons is where you go to change your behavior.
Yeah. Hopefully.
So cool. Think about it. Trump's going to go to jail because of his behavior. Yeah. And when he gets to jail, he's going to change his behavior. He's not going to be on the phone lying. He can't be, because he's not allowed to use the phone. And when he is allowed to use the phone, what's he going to spend his time lying? That's up to him. If he wants to, that's fine. They don't give a shit. Now, when I was in jail, you could die. They don't care. Yeah. I've seen people, you know, for the valley fever, and this one guy is dying, and he was on the second floor, and he came to the area, you know, the stair, and he started screaming at people, I'm dying. And he went back to his bed and he died. And they just buried his ass there. No notifying anybody, you know. They notify at the end. They don't have to. See, once you go to jail, you belong to the jail. You belong to them for so many years or whatever it is. And if it's life, you're there. And they don't give a shit about you. Anybody does. Maybe another inmate will take pity on you, but
Right.
everybody's got their own thing to do. And if you got to die, that's something you do alone too. Not all the time, but most of the time.
And that kind of, full circles. You kind of start alone, and you are alone on the journey, and hopefully you find some people to connect with. But in the end, you're by yourself. And I think, one of the things that my dad told me, that I try to live by is lead by example.
Yeah,
And that's one of the reasons why I do hope you become one of the richest men in the world, because I
yeah,
love your vision for it. I feel that
yeah.
is the path you're going to go. And to me and to everybody else, you demonstrate a lot of generosity. I know you mentioned generosity at the beginning. That made me instantly think of Robin Williams and some of the work he did. He wouldn't
Yeah.
take a job if they didn't hire X amount of homeless people. He wouldn't take the job if, the catering for the day went into the garbage. It needed to be delivered to a particular mission. These aren't things that we heard about during his lifetime. They are just things that he did because he believed they were right, and he was doing what he could with his position. And that's why I turn to you for your generosity, because you're here today, you're out there, you bring smiles to so many people, just not only from your huge body of work, but your personal connection, your time. You are here with me today. You did not have to be. You are not getting paid for this. You're doing it because what I think is just love and appreciation
Well, that's
for the
it.
journey.
We connect, and I've been doing that all my life, basically. I remember being my mother was taken to a sanitarium, but there wasn't sadness. There was more like relief. She's sick. She needs help. So she went into the sanitarium. I was too young to really, just to be told what to do. Okay. Uh, they did an X-ray on me. They found a little spot on my lung, and so I ended up a year in the children's hospital. And that was the best thing, one of the best things that ever happened to me, because all these gorgeous nurses, they fell in love with this little brown guy. And they would come from all over the hospital, just oh he's so cute. And I got passed from one gorgeous buxom redhead to another, and I think that was my attachment to redheads, because my wife now is a redhead, and but the hospital, that's when I became an individual. I was no longer like just the kid or the baby. I was the patient in that one bed, and I had to get needles every morning. I had to get a couple of needles in the butt. That wasn't fun, but I survived it, and for a year, and then I survived my illness. But I'm quite sure. And then I was taken out of the hospital and put in a Salvation Army home, and that was real. I was an observer there too, because I was too young to be with my brother in the gang. They were like 3 years older than me, and when you're that young, 3 years is a long time. And so I was kind of on my own when I hit the home, uh, because there was. I remember one kid. He was playing with like I'd never seen electricity. The light uh, plug in, and he was playing. As I asked him what he was doing, and he showed me. He was sticking a needle into the outlet,
Oh
and
no.
yeah, and I did it, and I found out why it's electrical. That was my first.
Yeah.
That was my first thing with electricity.
Oh,
Even though
jeez.
I was in a hospital, I never turned on lights or anything like that. But in the home, I had time to experiment. And
Right.
then another thing in the home is that I never ate well because the big kids would take all the good food. And there was no one there to help the little kids. And
Oh
so
man. Right.
basically, I just never really ate properly all the time I was there. And then because I had no muscle, I had nothing to, and no brother. My brother was in the home, but he was 3 years older than me. He was in a separate area.
Okay.
So anyway, I survived the home, and what I did, I just cozied up to the big kid that was sort of like the unofficial, the ringmaster. He took care, made sure that no one bullied anybody too bad. And so I survived that fine. But what I did learn is that the Salvation Army, you don't have a meal without a long prayer session in front of the meal. I mean, to the point where come on, I'm hungry.
Yeah.
Enough of this guy. God understands that I'm starving to death. But
You gotta show up after the opening act.
yeah, but I had to, I had to, but the song, the singing, and that. But it wasn't until I went to Bible camp. When I went to Bible camp, I was 8 years old then. Oh, that was about a year after I got out of the home. Yeah, or maybe a couple of years after I got. Yeah, probably two. And we're walking on a country road, and a car in the distance appears. And so we waited for the car, got up to where we were, and it was full of missionaries. And they said, "Would you boys like to go to Bible camp?" And I said, "Yes." And my brother said, "Well,
Yes.
we got to talk to my mother." And of course, so we got in the car and he drove us home. And of course, my mom said yes. And so we just grabbed some clothes and went with the missionaries. And they took us to this little church where we spent the night. And then we got on a bus and we drove about a couple of 100 miles to the Pine Lake. And it changed my life because the first night, we're in this big tent, and the missionary came in and taught us how to pray, you know, and from that day on, my life has been just a miracle because I learned how to pray, and it's so important. It's so important because the original thing was about love. Well, it's love. Love really is the urge to continue.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
It's a
want to
very good point.
continue whatever you're doing. If it's with love, you don't want it to stop. Be it making love, be it being with someone that you love. It just becomes so magical that you just want those moments to be forever. And in a lot of cases, they are forever, because ask and ye shall receive. See, that's people don't realize how that works. It's a blanket uh, statement. Ask and ye shall receive. That's the same as judge not.
Mhm.
Judge not doesn't say, "Oh, just judge righteous." Well, it does at to continue on. It says, "Judge righteous judgment." But in the beginning, judge not means study it. Don't judge it. Study it. You may be right. You may
Understand.
be wrong. But there's no reason to say, well, that's good, that's bad, or this is, I guess sometimes it is, if you come across some situations that are very obvious. But
Right.
I'm just talking about attitude, because it's your attitude that gets you anywhere, you know, like, like this one spiritualist I read all the time, Emmett Fox. he come up with the golden key. And the golden key is that when you are confronted with a problem, instead of worrying about the outcome of the problem, golden key it. And what it is that you bring God into the mix and say to yourself, this, I need God on board. I need God. I need just the thought of God in this. And once you do that, you change. It's your attitude. You're coming at them with love. You're talking about love. That's the love that you want to create in the other person. Like, for instance, if it's a ticket agent and you're trying to get on a plane and you got to get, because of business wise, and you got to get on the plane, it doesn't help to be anxious or to be whiny or to be bitchy or to be worried or to be any of those things. It only helps to be kind, gentle, and understanding. And when you do that, that's the golden key. See, that golden key works its way in there. And then once it gets in there, click, it opens. And then all miracles happen. And that happened to me and Shelby. It looked like we're going to have to stay another day in Denver. And so we went to the ticket thing. And instead of getting all upset, we kind of calmed down and said, oh, okay. So what should we do? We asked the ticket lady. She said, no, your flight got canceled. And so instead of saying, what are we going to do now? We asked her in a very nice way, well, what should we do? And by saying that, she said, well, let me see what I can do.
Yeah.
And then she goes, oh, there's a flight leaving right now. And they got 2 seats. Yeah, it happened. You see, the golden key opened the door. Had I been bitched and worried, I would have been stuck in that old old mindset. The planes and we don't know what's wrong, blah blah blah. But instead, I bypassed it and said, "So, what else can we do? What do you suggest?" And then she goes, "Oh, it's on me. Oh, okay. Well, there's a plane. Boom. You see, that is the golden key." And I've been trying to teach people, but you know what? What I've learned, man, is that everybody has to learn this shit by themselves, one way or the other.
Yeah.
Now, if you tell them and they don't listen to you, was it worth telling them? No, not really. Save your breath. Let them go. Okay, maybe I'll do the golden key. Let them do it. Don't tell them what to do. Let them figure it out for themselves. And that way, they don't have anybody to blame. Well, he told me this, Yeah, yeah. I got people close to me that do that trick every once in a while, and it's just useless. Well, they could have done this, and they should have won. All that shit doesn't it doesn't fly anymore, or as they say, that dog don't hunt.
Yeah. So sometimes the ego gets in the way of us remembering that we're all human. And the thing at the ticket counter, it's not just you. It's not because you're you and you're there at that moment. It's just something that happens. And when we take the ego away.
Figure out what ego is. You know what ego is?
No.
Fear.
Yeah. Yep.
Fear.
Yep. Yeah.
You're fear
in that situation,
what
you're
people
afraid you're
think.
not
What
getting on a
people
plane.
think of you. Yeah. Oh, I gotta do it. No, it's fear. It's fear. That's why when I tell people, when they get old, I said, take advantage of your age, dude. There's so many perks. If you're playing golf, you can tee off at the woman's tee. You can
Heck yeah.
do as many mulligans as you want. You're an old guy. It doesn't matter if they beat you or not, or
That's
you
awesome.
beat them. The fact is that you're out there playing. You're out there
Yep.
enjoying yourself. You see, you don't have nothing to prove. You've done it, and when you get a certain age, all you got to prove really is that you're happy. That's all you got to show
Yes.
people that you're happy. And old people really got to be careful because when you're serious, you look like you're pissed off. You know, you
You
know,
do.
yeah.
The
Old people
resting
look.
bitch face.
Yeah, and by the way, it's for our protection. Like little kids are so cute and adorable because everybody wants them to live. You know what I mean? And so they'll do whatever they can do to keep this little bundle alive, you see. But when the older you get, the more, is he still here?
Oh no.
Yeah. Oh my God. How old is he? I remember when Bob Hope got so old, he became like a compost heap. He would
I love Bob Hope.
they would take him out on his wheelchair and then just sort of turn him to face the sun, you know.
Right?
Over, yeah, he lived would he? Did you
What a
ever hear
legacy
that?
that guy left.
Did you hear that Dick Gregory joke about Bob Hope?
No, no,
You know
no.
who Dick Gregory is? The black comedian.
Author. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, he's the
No.
first black comedian
Okay.
to work the Playboy Club,
Oh
and,
wow.
and oh, he's a very very funny guy. He said, they said, "What do you think of Bob Hope dying?" And Dick Gregory said, "Oh man, I didn't know. Was he still alive?" and then he says, "Oh, you got to blame Reverend Jesse Jackson for Bob Hope living so long." And the guy says, "Why is that?" Well, Jackson always had people say, "Keep hope alive,
Oh,
keep hope alive."
yes. Oh man, that is freaking awesome. And real quick, am looking at the time and I want to be respectful of your time. I can be here all day. I know you probably have some things to do. One thing that I really wanted to sneak in here too, the love of my life, my wife, who is a huge fan of yours, is sitting right here. Um, she'd love to say hello. I
Oh,
bring
for
her in real
sure.
quick. Awesome. Thank you so much. Here, come on and take my seat. Here. Thank you. But yes.
Well, hi,
How are you doing today?
a redhead. Oh my God. See how my
We were
life
just
is?
talking about that.
See how my life is? I'm attracted to redheads for some
I
reason.
love it.
This the serendipity moment.
We just had my
Um,
grandson here with his girlfriend, and she's another gorgeous redhead. I had to really keep telling myself, "Your grandpa, don't look."
right. One thing when we get older.
Watch
Mm-hmm.
TV. Yeah, you got to be careful, especially with little kids. Because there's such a fine line between an old pervert and a young guy. An old guy that likes kids.
I'm in that middle zone right now where it's not appropriate. If I have another 20 years on me, then I can totally pull the like, oh, he's just a cute, dirty old man. So I've
Yeah,
got to wait another 20 years. But
yeah, you do,
yeah.
you do. And you know what I learned is you notice them. This is what I got a little. She's 3 years old now. My little granddaughter, and oh, she loves us. She loves grandma and grandpa. And because grandpa, he doesn't change. He talks about her in front of her, you know.
Right.
Like when she was having her tantrums and she was screaming, I said, "Oh, she's going to be a vocalist. She's practicing that high C. Listen to that high C." And I saw her eyes, and they went from being a bad girl to being intelligent and seeing, oh, grandpa likes that screaming, you know. And so then
She'll only practice.
she hits that high note. I said, whoa, hear that? That's high. That's a high C. That's impossible. If she keeps practicing that, she's going to be a hell of a singer. She's going to be singing. she doesn't scream anymore.
So
She
sweet.
kind of grew out of that, you know. And then she comes over and she's got a little pretty ballerina dance on it. And we always talk about how, oh, she's so flexible. She can do the splits. She can raise her leg above her head. She can do all these things. And she does them for us. And then the other day, I was, well, about a year ago, I was over at their house and there's a little sunbeam, you know, with the blind was shut, but there's a little sliver of light on the floor. And then I was watching her and she was dancing around the light. She had a little dance. And so I mentioned, I said, oh, well, let me get my camera. Kira, okay, do that dance again for me. And I got it on tape. She did the prettiest little dance. She did a little push-up thing, and then she was running the whole length of the light. Oh, it was, I got it on tape. It's so, everybody I show it to, they she's, you know, because when they're that age, it's moments,
Yeah.
you know, and they get older as years. But when they're that age, it's moments. That moment's gone. It's gone forever. But I got it. I got it on camera. You know. Oh, she's such a beauty, and she makes sure that at the end of the day, she gets her hugs from grandma and grandpa. Oh, grandma always grabs her and, hey, give me, you know, sit with me, but grandpa has to be cool, you know, because you can't be too perverted, you know.
Right.
So she comes by me. She just happens to be, you know, close enough so I can grab her, you know, and give her a nice hug, and you feel this beautiful love. It's just it's so pure.
Yeah.
It's so
Untainted
pure.
love.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
They're magic when they're little. They're just playing in magic all the time.
Yeah, yeah. And our housekeeper, you know, helped raise her, of course. And she brought her for her third birthday. She brought her a little shopping cart, a baby shopping cart, and then she just left it. So she comes over here. Kira comes over and she saw that shopping cart. Oh, she took it home with her instead of leaving it at Grandpa's house. She wanted that shopping cart with her wherever she went.
So sweet.
She's
It's,
so cute. They're so cute. Yeah.
it's got to be great that you've early in the life, you've lived it, you did your entertaining, and now you're able to kind of just have these magical moments come to you now in that form.
Yeah.
Something so pure, like you said, and so just it's pure, for lack of a better word, and that's a beautiful thing to have
Well,
and to be able to appreciate.
yeah, I tell old people now, I says, if you're a skier, you're no longer on the Black Diamond lips runs, you know. You're on the bunny hill.
Enjoy it.
And take your time. You're not going to hurt yourself. You're just going to slide all the way to the bottom where the snack bar waits for you.
One, two, Westport!